Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
All right, I'm going to put this out there right at the front so he doesn't have to listen too far. Sajjad Hussain. I'm going to put his name right out there. The reason I want to talk about him real quick, I've got another guest on. I'll introduce her. But, you run into people. I talk about this all the time. You run into people and you think, that person's going to be a game changer in my life. And it's horribly disappointing. Not horribly, but it's disappointing. It's like, that's it. And then you run into people and you're like, I don't really know about this person. And they're just fantastic. And Sajjad has been just somebody wonderful to refer people to me and share advice, sometimes with an F word in the beginning and the end of it. But that's Sajjad. But anyhow, one of the people he's introduced me to, I've had a lot of fun talking to, Dr. Barnsley Brown, and she is a Southern Steel Magnolia. Those are her words. But she helps big-hearted business owners reach six figures and beyond fast with a lot of fun. Believe me, she's a lot of fun. I was on her podcast. This is video. This is audio only. Hers is video. It started with a pom-pom.
That's all you have to say, Frank. It started with the pom-pom.
Yeah, I know it started with the pom-pom. But, one of the things that she works with her clients on, one of her favorite presentations is how to get the most out of your business networking. So I wanted to bring her on, kind of get her perspective because she has built a wonderful business, wonderful organization. And it's always great to get it's nice to have experts on, right? But it's good to have people who are boots on the ground, or stilettos on the ground, I should say, not boots.
No, you'll never catch me in stilettos, Frank.
Okay.
No, I'm a Clark's kind of girl and a Keen sort of girl. I'm a comfortable, nice looking shoe sort of girl.
Okay. Well, there you go. But definitely not boots. So anyhow, Barnsley, welcome to the program. So how do you get the most out of networking? No, actually, I want you to just start out and kind of give your story.
Sure. Well, I've been in business for, 22 and a half years now, Frank, which is really, I think, oh my God, my business is legal, right? It can have a beer now.
Yeah.
But I've been in business for 22 and a half years. And really the way my business started is I got very disgruntled in academia. And I just found that overall, it just was not, I was about 75% happy. Let's put it that way. And I believed that I could be 95% happy. I really believed that was possible. And I loved the teaching education part, but I hated the endless meetings and the bickering over things that I thought were really not important. And there was a lot of big ego there as well, Frank. And it just wasn't, for me, that just wasn't a nourishing environment. So I actually said no. The quick story is I said no to the tenure track offer of my dreams that had been the tenure track job offer of my dreams at a UNC, University of North Carolina campus, which will go unnamed. Yep. And I said no to the man who had gotten confused and had walked out on the very same day, Frank, and I started my business. So the very same day I said no to him, I said no to the job offer. And literally for about 3 months, I would go to the gym and I would get on the treadmill. You'll appreciate this because I know you're a former athlete. And I would get on the treadmill and I'd work out, and I swear I would cry sometimes on that treadmill. And I'm sure they probably called me like the treadmill crier. There She is, the treadmill crier. But it was such a transitional time. And even though I knew I was moving into something that was going to be wonderful and I was going to do everything to make it that, it was hard still to leave the old behind, right? Yeah. It was still hard to leave the old behind. And it was hard to leave behind that dream I'd had since I was like 8 that I was going to be I was a PhD, so I had that dream.
Yeah.
But that I would be, a professor at a distinguished professor, blah, blah, blah. However, I had to reach a point where I realized, really, it isn't really making me happy.
Yeah.
So that's how I got started. And I started out working one-on-one with people, and pretty fast I was asked to do a creative marketing seminar. And that is my area of expertise for small business, creative marketing for small business, and helping people get to profit really fast. And then after that, it just took off, word of mouth. So-and-so told me about this person, and then I would call, and they'd been told, you need to have Barnsley and Dr. Barnsley. And then it started from there. And now I have like over 20 business presentations. I have a year-long mastermind called the Make It Happen Mastermind. It's a group coaching program. And I have an individual laser coaching program that I love, because we just do 15-minute sessions and we get to the heart of the matter, solve it. They take an assignment away, do the assignment, and we do another coaching session.
Interesting. Now,
Yeah.
what did you teach at the unnamed UNC campus?
Well, I taught all sorts of interesting things. I taught some cross-curricular courses that were in women's studies and ethnic studies.
Okay.
I taught cross-curricular writing. I taught literature. I taught, it was a whole variety. I taught even seminars. I didn't teach business courses, interestingly.
Yeah.
I didn't, though I had a section on business writing in one of those classes. It was literature and culture, basically, and women's studies. So that's what I taught.
What was your PhD in?
It's in African American literature and women's studies.
All right. You're as white as rice.
Well, that's interesting, Frank, because I'll tell you, right?
Okay.
Now, in the South, 92% of people have mixed blood. That's an old statistic, in fact. It's just because of the history of it.
Yeah.
But I remember going to one of my many job interviews, and they asked me, well, how is it to teach African-American literature as a white person? And I just looked them in the eye and smiled and said, I find it very interesting that you assume that I'm white.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, shame on me, right?
Well, no shame on you. But the point is, I know people of color who are lighter than I am and have green eyes. So,
we're the great melting pot. We
really
are
the great melting pot. And the truth of the matter is, I don't have to be British and a man to teach Shakespeare. So why would that be the case when you're teaching African-American literature? But I was definitely outspoken then. I'm still outspoken. And I was progressive then. I was ahead of my time. And, there's a point where you kind of have to think in your life, well, am I going to keep pushing to try to get this door open? And there are probably people on the other side pushing it closed in your face. Or am I going to just take my energies and my skills and my expertise to another arena? And that's what I chose to do.
Well, I mean, this is probably a whole nother conversation we could have, but
yeah,
college is geared for the job.
Yeah.
Hey, get a job working for GM or GE or IBM, all the letters. And that's when I was, those are the dreams. That's what you would shoot for. And they don't talk to the rot, if you will, the ROT, the rot of just being in a job and the politics. They don't talk about those things. Why? Yeah. Because those professors don't know. They don't know. Yeah.
Well, it is its own hierarchy. The university is a kind of corporation in a way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it lets people work in their little hovels and their very niched areas. So in some ways it is similar to business, but I'll tell you, I didn't even think about being an entrepreneur until in graduate school, because I was putting myself through my PhD, Frank. I realized, I don't want to be a poor graduate student. I don't. So I was working 3 jobs. I was teaching at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I was teaching there, teaching my own classes while I was doing my PhD. I was administrating a church part-time, and I also started a tutoring business. So I began a tutoring business where I worked with people in the Research Triangle Park who were, say, scientists who'd come here from Japan and they wanted to work on their English. And I worked with a very interesting woman from Hungary who actually was able to go on and do her MBA and do all sorts of things after the work that we did for many years together. So I started my own business tutoring people, and that was kind of out of necessity, but I really enjoyed that one-on-one work with people. And that was kind of the beginning of coaching for me, I would say, is that one-on-one work, and realizing I really enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed the contact with my students, especially at Wake Forest University, where I taught for 3 or 4 years. I loved my students, and they were always coming to my, my office, my tiny little office. And I just enjoyed engaging with them one-on-one as well as the teaching. So I think for me, it was, even though it was sort of a different sphere, the element of coaching was there, the element of mentorship was there. And definitely, if you want to talk about networking, you got to network in academia just like anywhere else. You've got to network, because you'll get jobs through people Yeah. And I had that happen 3 different times, Frank. 3 different times. Most people get jobs through people they know, by the way. Anybody who's job seeking, if you're listening to this, this is the reality. So stop putting your stuff up on Monster and all these other places, and just get the word out really clearly to people about what you're seeking, about to your network and what you're seeking. And you'll find that folks want to help you. Ask for help.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. So how do you get the most out of networking? What do you tell your clients?
Well, and the second part of that, and it's not what you think, how to get the most out of your networking, and it's not what you think. Because most people go to networking events, Frank, they go to get something. Mm-hmm. They go into that event thinking, well, I'm going to have a sale, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to be asked to speak, or XYZ is going to happen, whatever. People go into get, or as we say in the South, to get. G-I-T, get. Say it, Frank. I want to hear you say it. Get her done. Get something. Get her done. Get something. Most people go in to get.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If you want to be unforgettable rather than unforgivable, then you want to go in to give. And when you go in to give, then you immediately stand out. When you go in to give, you are immediately someone that people resonate with and will remember. And I can tell you that, Frank, people say to me, you know everybody. I don't know everybody. I really don't, Frank.
Yeah.
Secret, I don't know everyone. But people know me. Now, I don't think it's because of my dazzling wit and stunning good looks at all.
Okay.
It's not that, Frank. All right. There's a little of Sajad coming through in that sense of humor right there. I don't think it's any of those things. I'd love to think it was because I was brilliantly smart. It's not. It's because I really care about people. And I do. And I'll go the extra mile to help someone. And so the first thing I would say to everyone is stop thinking about what you're going to get. And instead, think about, how can I help somebody here today? How can I help someone here today? How can I connect someone to a person they need to meet? How can I connect someone? You and I were just talking about before the show. I'm going to connect you with someone who needs to have you on their show.
Yep.
And that's going to happen, because I'm going to talk about what a great time I had with you on my show and what a great interview we did here. And so, we should be promoters of other people. So we can promote ourselves, and that's super important. But when we promote other people, we become memorable as well. And that would be my second thing I would say to people, is that when you go to a networking event, if you have had a great interaction with someone, let's say they've been on your show, or you've purchased their product or service, or even you've had a one-on-one and they connected you to someone who opened up a door, whatever, then say something nice about that person. Don't hold back. Do you see this, Frank, that a lot of people just hold back and they won't say something, and they could?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm letting you go, not out of politeness. Well, I try to be polite, but You are totally speaking my language, and I love the fact you're on here saying the things that I try to say. I try to get across because it's another voice saying the same thing. It's not just Frank. Oh, here was Frank again.
The world of Frank.
Yeah, but it's so true, and it's true, but it's counterintuitive, right? I need something. I'm going to go there and give something away, and so that's counterintuitive to them. But it's frustrating to talk to people because that's the road to salvation for them.
Well, so here's the thing. Most people are going in, like, let's take this back in history a little bit. Most people are going in like hunters.
Yeah.
They're going in with their spear.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, what can I get? What can I spear today in this meeting? Or what can I spear? What can I get for myself? And the truth of the matter is the only reason that hunters and gatherers survived is because they were a tribe. They were a tribe. They were a group that had each other's backs. So I would say to everybody, instead of going in like a hunter, go in as someone who's got other people's backs. And just whenever you have an opportunity to say something great about somebody, do, but don't make it super vague. That's the other thing that gets on my nerves, Frank, is when somebody gives a testimonial like this. Okay, let me give you an example. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Y'all ready? Everybody ready?
We all ready.
Here we go. It's like, well, Frank's a great guy. He does a good job.
Yeah.
That's testimonial A. You know how when you go to the eye doctor, here's A and here's B? Okay, that's A.
Yeah.
Then B is, something I really love about Frank is that he's a best-selling author of numerous books. He has his own incredible podcast. He has a networking group that is free and welcomes everybody. And Frank is somebody who loves to connect people. That's B. Now, which of those is better?
Oh, obviously B. Yeah.
Obviously B.
Yeah. When you go to the eye doctor, it's like, I don't want to screw this up and get messed up glasses for the next 2 years. but yeah, it's clearly B.
Clear.
Yeah,
it's clearly B.
Yeah,
but
it's clear.
Most people are lazy with their language, and they're just lazy, period, about saying something nice. And, I read something the other day, compliment everyone you can. And you know what? That's something that I think in the South, we absolutely do, but I think it was ingrained in me just to compliment people. So if I see somebody in line somewhere and I love their earrings, I'm like, oh my God, I love your earrings. Where did you get them? And then we start having a conversation. They become a friend. They may become a client. It's about giving. When you compliment someone, it's about giving someone a positive reaction that can actually boost their whole day, and then they don't forget you. Yeah. So let me tell you a story, Frank. Can I tell a little story?
Oh, you can. Yeah.
Can I tell a story? Okay. So years ago, I drove an old Passat, all right, VW Passat, and I called it the Possum. Because it would frequently break down. Now, this was when I was in graduate school. All right. I drove the Possum. And I would go frequently to a takeout Chinese place near my home and just grab food, because I was super busy. And there was a young lady there, and she looked so miserable, Frank. Every time I went in, she looked just miserable. And I just would start to talk with her, and hey, how's your day going? Oh, you have an accent. Where are you from? She was from Eastern Europe. She'd left her whole family. She'd come to the United States. She was probably, if anything, 18 or 19 years old. She was super young. And so I just made it my point every time I went in there to say something nice. And my mission was to get her to smile, So it'd be, oh, I love that color on you. Or how have you been doing? So she slowly started opening up to me. I never knew her name. She didn't know my name. And we talked about all sorts of stuff as I waited to get my little takeout Chinese. Well, years later, I didn't see her there. And I thought, wow, I wonder what's happened. I hope she's okay. Maybe she got another job. Maybe she got sent back. I don't know what happened. And my Possum broke down. The Possum broke down, Frank. I went to the VW dealership. I went in to find out about the part. It was some tiny part. And being the car that it was, the part was like $375. That's back in the 1990s for this stupid little part. And I'm a graduate student. I'm like, oh my God, that's going to set me back. And I'm thinking, oh crap, how am I going to get this part? So I walk out and I'm like, well, there goes my food, or there goes going to that concert. Yeah. Um, And suddenly I see this person running across the parking lot, Frank, with her arms stretched wide open, like running, as you see in these movies. And I'm like, oh my God, who is that? She got close enough. I saw it was that woman, that girl.
Oh, wow.
And she gave me the biggest hug. And I gave her a hug and I'm like, oh my God, how are you? And she said, I'm great. How are you? I'm working here. And I said, really? Oh my God, I'm here because I need this part. It's so expensive and I don't know how I'm going to get it. She's like, oh, I got this for you. I get an employee discount. Shh.
Okay.
So she goes in, Frank, gets the part for me. I get like a 30% discount. And she's so thrilled to be able to do this. And she brings it out to me and then told me all the stuff that had been happening in her life. She got married, blah, 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 blah. Well, why did that happen? Did I think that relationship, did I go into that relationship thinking, can I get something from this person? And the other thing was, it wasn't a likely person, right? It's not somebody that could, advance me like the head of a department in academia or whatever. It's just an ordinary person like me. And I just go in wanting to give a little brightness to her day because she looks so sad, right?
Yeah.
And it all came circling back, And so this is the thing. I think it's Wayne Dyer who says, let's see if I even have that. He says, it's a wonderful quote that great networkers circulate energy. They circulate it around people. And Seneca, of course, said, wherever there's a human being, there's a chance for kindness. And I believe that. And I'll tell you, so many times in my life, I have had a situation and there has been somebody there who knew somebody I knew. Somehow I was taken care of. And I believe it's because of that energy of kindness that I like to send out to the world. I'll tell you something about my daughter too. She's 16. I'm going to brag about her for a second. The other day I was talking with her and she doesn't really enjoy school. She's not a great student. It's just not her thing. She enjoys the social aspect. She's always been very social. And I said, so Zelia, what is it you really enjoy? What is it that you really enjoy? Because she's doing a choral concert this week. And I was like, do you really enjoy it? Yeah, I really like that. I like getting to know everyone. And I said, well, what is it you really enjoy? And, period. And she said, Mom, I really like helping people. And my heart was like, oh, she loves helping people. And that's so much like me. Like, I just want to help people. And it doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter who they are. They could be the person in the coffee shop. And it's so interesting that these people that we're kind to always find a way to come back into our lives at just the moment that we need something.
This has been great, and we'll have to cut this short. I'll get you back on another time. We continue this because you have another podcast to be on.
I do, but Frank, can I tell people something really cool to do right today? Can I give them assignment like homework, fun homework? Y'all, I'm a recovering academic, I admit. I want you to go on somebody's Facebook page and I want you to put a video of a song that reminds you of that person. That when you think of that person, you're like, this is you. So maybe it's that song. Somebody did this for me one time and it was, you're a firework. It's that Katy Perry story. And that Katy Perry song. And I was like, oh my God, that's so special. Just something that reminds you of that person, or it could be a quote. Or if you don't want to even look up that, just go on their Facebook and publicly say exactly what you love about that person. What I like about you, Frank, is you are a connector and you're so kind and you give to others. Say you are. Use power language. Use you are. Because we don't have many opportunities in life to be recognized for what we're doing well. Think about it. Most of the time we get recognition when we've done something that's a F up, right? Frank? Yep. And give somebody recognition today. Put a song, put a quote, put a memory, put a picture of the two of you together and at something, and Say what you love about that person. Be a giver. And I guarantee if you do that even twice a week, if you make that a practice, you're going to find that all sorts of magical things open up for you in your life and in your business.
Sounds awesome. Dr. Barnsley Brown, I will put this in the show notes, but her website is www.spirited-solutions.com. You have to remember that dash.
Barnsley. It's spirited-solutions.com.
I will get that in the show notes.
And there's a free ebook there, Frank.
Okay, they will find it. You can't be late for gym. It'll be my fault.
I will not be late. I'm going. It's all good. All right. Thank you, Frank, for having me on. And you keep doing what you're doing because you're an inspiration.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.